Ever wonder what it really takes to scale a company like crazy fast? I mean, going from a small team to hundreds of employees almost overnight. And not just any company, but one that's right in the middle of healthcare, wellness, and sports tech. Well, that's exactly what we're diving into today with the career of Scott Adams.
Yeah, and it's a really interesting one, especially now. I mean, think about everything that's happening in these fields right now. This huge boom in digital health, all these corporate wellness programs popping up, and don't even get me started on all the tech trying to help athletes. Scott seems to be right there in the thick of it all.
Absolutely. This is someone who helped launch the Mayo Clinic's sports medicine division. Did you know that? And get this, they blew past their financial projections by $25 million.
Wow, 25 million. That's impressive. But what I find really interesting is that it wasn't just about the money for him. I mean, he also achieved a 98th percentile patient satisfaction score. Shows you he gets it that you need both, right? The business smarts and that human touch.
Yeah, he seems to really do well when the stakes are high, doesn't he? And talk
Yeah.
about high stakes. He was also a major player in getting Mayo Clinic's virtual hospital up and running. Can you imagine all the regulations, the logistics? Must have been a nightmare.
No kidding, especially back then. Telehealth was just starting to gain traction, and he wasn't just going with the flow, he was building the foundation for a whole new way to do healthcare. That's pretty forward thinking, if you ask me.
Totally.
Hmm.
And then on top of all of that, you've got his AI work. The guy is certified by Google, IBM, and Microsoft in AI. I mean, come on. And he's not just collecting certificates, he's using it. He's advising all these medical AI companies on how to grow. There's this one story, right? He helped this medical tech startup completely rethink who they were targeting, all using AI. They ended up doubling their projected revenue.
You know, it really shows you the power of data when you know how to use it. It's one thing to have the technology, but it's another thing altogether to be able to use it and get real results. You know what I mean?
It's clear that we're not talking about some run-of-the-mill COO here. This is someone who tackles really complex problems head-on and comes up with innovative solutions. Makes you understand why so many companies are looking to him for guidance. But before we get into his consulting company, ACF, can you explain what a fractional COO actually does? Especially in such a rapidly changing landscape,
Well, think of it like this. It's like having this really experienced executive just waiting in the wings and they're ready to jump in and give you that operational expertise you need. But get this, without having to make them a full-time employee. It's a huge advantage for companies in these fast-paced industries, especially if they're looking for that strategic edge, but not quite ready to build out a whole executive team.
So it's kind of like calling in a specialist, right? Instead of trying to put out a fire yourself when you have no idea what you're doing, you bring in a pro with a fire extinguisher and years of experience.
Exactly. And you know, one of the big challenges ACF helps with is scaling pains. Makes it sound kind of scary. But what does that actually mean, in the real world?
Yeah, it sounds like something you'd get from like growing too fast or something.
Yeah. Well, that's often exactly what it is. Imagine you've got this health tech startup. They've developed this amazing app, totally groundbreaking. And suddenly, bam, they're flooded with users. Which is great, obviously, but their infrastructure, it's just not built for that kind of rapid growth. Customer service is drowning in requests, product development is struggling to keep up, and their company culture. Yeah, that starts to take a hit too. That's when a fractional COO can really shine. They come in, help build a more scalable model so the company can handle the growth without imploding.
It's like they're trying to build the plane while they're flying it.
It,
Except with a co-pilot who's actually flown a plane before.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And that kind of leads into another challenge they tackle, talent acquisition and retention. Because in these super competitive industries, it's not enough to just have a great product. You got to have the right people too, right? People who can get stuff done, come up with new ideas, and roll with the punches.
And you're competing for talent with everyone else, especially in fields like healthcare and wellness, where you need that trust and expertise. So how does ACF help companies find those people?
They really help companies step back and really look at how they're hiring. They help them find the right talent, create a strong company culture that people actually want to be a part of. That's where Scott's own experience building teams, especially with that human performance company, that's got to be invaluable.
Yeah, building a team from scratch like that is no joke.
Yeah.
And then there's the whole money side of things, financial management and positioning for fundraising. Feels like every time I turn around, there's a new article about some company getting millions in funding.
Oh, absolutely. And it can get really complicated, especially in healthcare and tech. ACF helps navigate all of that. They help companies craft their pitch to investors, show them why their work matters in the long run, and ultimately secure the bag so they can grow and make their vision a reality.
It's like they're speaking the investor's language.
Yeah.
But it's not just about the money, right? There's also the whole landscape of the industry itself, like market dynamics and competitive pressures. I mean, that's got to be a constant headache in any industry these days, right?
Oh, tell me about it. But yeah, it's especially true for healthcare, wellness, and sports tech. I mean, it seems like every day there's some new breakthrough.
AI diagnostics one day,
Hmm.
personalized nutrition plans based on your DNA the next. It's a lot to keep up with.
Exactly. So ACF helps these companies not just keep up, but actually stay ahead of the curve, understand those big changes and figure out how to thrive when everything's constantly shifting.
So they're not just putting on a Band-Aid. They're figuring out how to avoid getting cut in the first place. Now, this next one really stood out to me. Strategic partnerships and collaborations. I mean, you can see that thread throughout Scott's career. He's worked with these huge names like Google and Adidas, not to mention Mayo Clinic and even the NFL Players Association.
It's like he understands that sometimes you can achieve way more by working together than by going it alone.
It's like that saying, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together.
Exactly. And that's a big part of what ACF does. They help companies find those perfect partnerships, the ones that give them access to new markets, technologies, whatever it is they need, things they couldn't get on their own.
Makes sense. Now, we've talked a lot about what ACF does, the services they offer, but let's switch gears for a second. I kind of want to dig into the why. What's the driving force behind it all? What makes Scott pick?
You're talking about his why, right?
Exactly. On their website, there's this line in their founder's message that really jumped out at me. We believe in the transformative power of our work to empower visionary leaders to make a significant impact.
Yeah, and I get the feeling those aren't just empty words to Scott. He really seems to be drawn to working with leaders who want to make a positive change.
So it's less about, here's how we can help you make a bunch of money, and more about, here's how we can help you make a real difference.
Exactly, and that really comes through. Okay, so I know you're intrigued by their AI-augmented innovation sprints. It sounds super cool, right?
Yeah, I have to admit, I'm not entirely sure I get it, though.
Yeah.
What exactly does that even mean?
Okay, so picture this. You walk into a room, right? And it's buzzing. Whiteboards everywhere, sticky notes, you know the vibe, and everyone there. They're the best and brightest in healthcare, wellness, sports tech, the whole shebang.
Okay, yeah, I can see it. Sounds intense.
And they're all laser focused on solving one specific challenge for your company. Could be anything, like how do we make it easier for patients to, start using our services? Or maybe it's something bigger, like, hey, let's create a whole new product line using the latest tech.
So that's where the whole AI augmented thing comes in.
Bingo. Imagine this, you've got AI algorithms, right? But they're not just like sitting in a corner somewhere. They're plugged in, they're analyzing everything, market trends, what your users are doing, what your competitors are up to. I'm talking massive amounts of data, even scientific research. Can you believe that?
So you're basically giving your innovation team a superpower.
Exactly. Now, don't get me wrong, the AI isn't calling the shots, but it's giving you these insights, these recommendations that would normally take like forever to uncover. It's like having a crystal ball, but instead of vague predictions, it's giving you real actionable data.
And this isn't some long drawn out process either, right? Because it's a sprint.
Exactly. We're talking about short bursts of intense brainstorming, problem solving. Sometimes it's just a few days, maybe a week tops. But the goal is to come out of it with something real, not just a plan, but like a prototype or a strategy that's ready to go.
So it's about quick wins, but also setting yourself up for success in the long run. It really seems like Scott's whole approach is about bringing those two worlds together, the big visionary ideas and the nitty-gritty of actually making them happen.
And that's why I think this deep dive is so interesting, It doesn't matter if you're just starting out, if you're a seasoned executive hitting a wall, or just someone who's like obsessed with the future of, everything we've been talking about.
So for someone who's listening to all of this, what's the one thing you really want them to take away from this?
I think it's this. The world's changing faster than ever, right? But success isn't just about keeping up. It's about being brave enough to really lead. And not just with your head, with your heart too. Don't be afraid to shake things up a little. Find people who share your passion and never ever stop being open to new ideas. You'd be amazed what you can achieve with that kind of mindset.
It's like what we see with Scott's own career, right? Sometimes the most incredible journeys start with just one step outside of your comfort zone.
Exactly. And hey, who knows? Maybe this deep dive is what someone needed to hear today to take that step.